All right, hello everybody. My name's Adam White. It is time for the May 2022 Government Affairs Update for the Alaska Airmen's Association. It is not the normal time. Normally it would have been last week, but we just finished up with the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering, and to be honest with you, it was a very full weekend and a lot of things going on last week. A lot of things happening this past weekend in Valdez as well with the STOL competition there. And so we pushed it off to this week so I can just give you an update for May, because not everyone was able to join us in person at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering. It's great to see so many of you there. It's great to be back doing things in groups again, being able to be there at the Palmer Airport and at the State of Alaska Fairgrounds there in Palmer as well. So it's a great weekend. If you didn't make it, you really missed out. You really did. Great time to visit and catch up with everybody as we come out of winter, getting ready for summer flying season. It was a fun time. It was a good weekend. One of the things I wanted to kind of touch on just briefly here, I've been monitoring social media. I've been participating in a couple of threads on some of the forums. I just feel the need to kind of clear the air just a little bit when it comes to the Raffle airplane. I know it started out in jest. I know a lot of folks are just kind of joking around about who wins the airplane and how it's never anybody in Alaska, which is not true. We actually have the majority of the folks actually do live in Alaska that have won that airplane. And I apologize for the noise. My neighbor has just started up his experimental pacer, and looks like he's going to go for a flight on this evening, which is a great evening to go do it. So we may have to pause just a moment as he pulls out of his tie-down spot, because it's going to get kind of loud here in a minute. So back to the Raffle Cub. It's a great airplane, incredible airplane, actually. If you had a chance to see it and put your eyes on it and maybe even touch it and drool all over the thing like so many of us were doing last 2 weekends ago there in Palmer. It went to a person in Montana who was very excited to be the winner. Not sure exactly what the plans are right now as far as how the winner is going to get that airplane to Montana and what their plans are for it. But it is not always someone outside of Alaska who wins the Raffle plane. So just wanted to clear that up. Also want to kind of clear up some things about some comments about, well, you should start selling tickets sooner. Well, we start selling tickets in October. So how much sooner do you need? We sell out before the show already. Other folks have talked about having a different ticket price if you're a member or if you're not a member, if you live in Alaska, if you live outside of Alaska, all these things. Opening up ticket sales earlier to certain groups of people. It is a heavily regulated activity by the state of Alaska to raffle off that airplane. We are trying our best to stay in full compliance with the laws. A lot of the things that were suggested are just simply illegal. We cannot offer a separate ticket price for a certain type of person, member, non-member, Alaska resident, not Alaska resident. And I don't know what to tell you. We sell out of tickets every year. I shouldn't say every year. There were a couple of years we didn't when the economy went bad in 2008. But obviously there's a lot of people who are still very interested in buying tickets to support the Airmen's Association. And that brings me to my last point about the raffle. The point of the raffle for the Alaska Airmen's Association is to raise funds to operate the organization. That's what this is about. Now, secondary to that is to support industry, whether it's here in Alaska, where it's in the lower 48. There were a lot of Alaska components that were manufactured here in Alaska that were on the aircraft that we gave away this year. Cub Crafters is not in Alaska, but it is an incredible company, incredible products. That airplane was pretty cool. And so, once again, if you're just joining us, apologize for the sound of the airplane here right outside the hangar. buddy of mine's getting ready to go flying, and I'm jealous. But anyway, so yes, to answer your question there on Instagram, the tickets have already sold out. We've already given the airplane away 2 weekends ago. We will start selling tickets again for next year's raffle in the October time frame. So keep an eye out on social media outlets for information about what the next raffle plane will be. But again, just in closing on that topic, the purpose and the intent of the raffle is to raise funds for the Alaska Airmen's Association. That is what it is. How can we raise the most funds for the organization to keep your dues down low, to be able to fund the programs that we have, to be able to contribute to the scholarship fund, of which, by the way, over $100,000 was given away in scholarships this year by the Alaska Airmen's Association. Ticket sales are a big part of that. A lot of other contributing factors to that level, but ticket sales for the raffle played a big part. So enough on the raffle. It's a fundraiser for the Airmen's Association, and I know some people get upset when it's not a person in Alaska that wins it, but we sell out tickets, and we try to keep the prices in check. If you've looked at the aviation market right now for used airplanes and new airplanes, not cheap. Aircraft are a very good investment right now, and so it is not a cheap thing to do. And so appreciate everybody participating in that, and better luck next year. I guess that's the only thing I can tell you. So it's good to see some folks checking in here. Hey Tim, how are you? And Brandon is taxiing away, so we're going to pause just a minute while he pulls out. He should be gone here in just a second. Again, all that airplane noise in the background sounds really good, and that composite prop that he's got on there is a nice prop. So he's taxied out of the way now. So there was a question that popped up on Facebook. It just scrolled through. And Tim, your comment about time for a 170, maybe it is. If we can find a good project and somebody willing to rebuild a 170. 170s are great airplanes, and I know you're not partial at all, Tim. Tim's a good friend of mine, and he owns a 170. Question came up about weather cameras. Most of you know I'm based here in Nenana, and the weather cameras in Nenana are not functioning right now. I don't know the reason why. I've talked to the weather camera office. They're looking into that. Several other cameras in the state are offline right now. Most of those are comm issues with getting the signal back to the FAA. So the FAA is aware of it. They're working on it, not just here in Nenana, but in other locations around the state. So I mentioned Valdez at the beginning. I was able to attend Valdez. Flew down with my wife and youngest daughter, and it was a great day. I cannot remember the last time that Valdez had such great weather, especially for the STOL competition. It was a great day. Really enjoyed the time there. Great to see some other friends that did not make it to the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering the weekend before. Pretty cool stuff. The wind was not as good as it had been in previous years. So the numbers from some of the competitors weren't quite as good as before, but still a fun weekend. So looking forward to doing that again. Let's talk about some government affairs issues right quick. A few things I want to briefly mention. You may or may not have heard, but Ralph Gibbs is no longer the manager at the Merrill Field Airport. I was getting my airports mixed up there. So the municipality of Anchorage will be looking for a new airport manager. And while not everybody may have agreed with all of Ralph's decisions, one thing I can say about Ralph is he did a great job of turning the finances around there at Merrill Field, even though some of the ways to do that, he and I had some discussions about, as far as raising rates and other things that were being talked about. But he did a good job with turning the airport around financially. And there goes my buddy taking off right over the top of the hangar, so it's great. Municipality of Anchorage is looking for a new manager for Merrill Field. That just happened yesterday, and so obviously no idea what's going to happen with that just yet. It does pose an interesting scenario for Birchwood, because the municipality of Anchorage and Alaska DOT are talking about what Birchwood is going to look like management-wise going forward. So kind of an interesting twist to the plot there for that conversation. So I'll continue watching that and being involved as much as we can in that whole scenario. Something else that is still ongoing right now that got a lot of conversations at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering about, and even at Valdez, although it's been long enough now that most people have figured out how to do this. Lake Hood Strip in Anchorage is shut down. They're reconditioning the surface. They're actually pulling it up and doing a lot of work there to do that. So if you're on wheels trying to get in and out of Lake Hood, you're going to have to use Anchorage International. Now, that is within the Mode C surface area, and so we know the rules about that you have to be transponder equipped and ADS-B out. ATC and flight standards know that this is a temporary deal. They understand the situation. They have issued a letter to airmen. I have a letter of interpretation from the FAA legal department here in Alaska confirming all of these things, that all you have to do if you're negative ADS-B is to just say that in your initial call, and they will do everything they can to get you in and out as efficiently as possible. So seems like it's going pretty good. You know, you kind of need to time your arrivals and departures. Just you don't want to get in the middle of all that heavy freighter traffic coming in or going to Asia. It can get kind of busy there at Anchorage International during that time frame. I have seen some pretty cool pictures, though. I got to tell you, it's pretty cool to see 777s, 767s, 747s, big Airbuses taxiing on the same taxiway as Super Cubs. How often do you see that? Pretty cool pictures. A little intimidating for jet wash in a Super Cub. So be careful if you're operating in and out there in the Anchorage area. All right, so something else that's I've been noticing a lot of retirements lately. It's springtime. A lot of folks wait until after the tax year and things to go ahead and retire. A lot of retirements are happening right now within the FAA. A lot of really good people that have spent many, many years working within the FAA that have been great allies for us at the Alaska Airmen's Association are retiring. And so I wish them well. It's too long of a list for me to try to go off and name them all off, but it does pose some interesting scenarios, because now who's going to step up into those positions? And some of the people are already, they're known to us. We work with them. They're friends of the Alaska Airmen's Association and other industry groups. And so some of the transitions and some of the lines of businesses are not going to be as difficult as others. There's some new folks coming into some positions that we're going to have to introduce ourselves to. And when I say we, it's not me in the royal sense, but myself and other industry types are going to have to just kind of start from the beginning again. So this is not an uncharted territory. Folks retire all the time. The military especially, with their transfers and deployments and their tendency to kind of shuffle people every 2 years. So this is an ongoing thing. This is nothing new, nothing different, other than it just seems to be an increase, an uptick in the numbers of folks that are retiring from the FAA specifically. And so we've got that task ahead of us. And you're right, Tim, you never know who's going to get the job. It's kind of like rolling the dice. You just don't know what you're going to get. We are still waiting to hear the announcement as to who is the permanent replacement for the regional administrator for the FAA Alaskan region. It's my understanding that that person has been offered the job. They've accepted the job. They are working through the process of onboarding within the FAA. And until some of that is further along, they're not saying who it is. And there's a lot of folks within the FAA that don't even know who that person is just yet. So with that, I wanted to mention that two-way texting is probably one of the biggest things that has happened. And you think, two-way texting, Adam, what are you talking about? We've been texting back and forth for years. Yes. Well, now in Alaska, you can text with flight service. You can text on a cell phone, a satellite phone, or a Spot X device. Those are the first round of devices. There is plans underway. Programs already have been starting to onboard other devices like Spider Tracks, like InReach, like Track Plus, like the Bivy Stick, these other devices that a lot of us use. But I can tell you that I was the first civilian, let's put it that way, because the FAA had been testing this for a while, but the first person to close an active flight plan by texting in Alaska. Pretty cool. I got to tell you, I was on a flight heading out west of Fairbanks. I was coming back into Fairbanks. This meeting was already scheduled where we were going to do some working through the program with the FAA and flight service. And I had prearranged to time my arrival into Fairbanks at the time that the meeting was going to start and be able to use this new feature to actually close my flight plan. And it worked flawless. It's really cool. A couple things that you need to know. You need to have a master flight plan on file. If you don't know what that is, send me a message or do a search on your web browser, Master Flight Plans, Alaska Flight Service, and I'm sure that you'll find some things there. But you'll have to have a master flight plan on file. You'll have to be a participant in the ESRS program, which is the Enhanced Special Reporting Service, which ties together a satellite tracking device with a master flight plan so that if you're overdue and you activate the search and rescue function of these devices, flight service is a part of that loop. And so during our testing, it has shaved at least 2 hours off of the activation time for an actual search. And so, so that's what's going on with that. Right now you can open, you can close, and you can amend an arrival time for a flight plan. There is plans to do more than just that. But as we all know, text messages are limited to a certain character length before they get split into more. Trying to work out the security protocols within the FAA, this was a major hurdle. And kudos to the FAA and L3 Harris, the contractor for the FAA, to get this stuff pushed through and figured out on the security side. The main holdup right now for the other devices, which if you have an InReach or some of the others, which I know InReach is by far the most popular device here in the state, the problem is that there is no device-specific phone number for that unit. And so being able to tie that device to a set phone number to be able to do that, that's the difficulty. So we're working on that, working with Garmin on that, working at doing some other things with the other vendors to do that as well. So as far as weather, there is an option through Leidos, through the lower 48 contractor for flight service, where you can get METARs and TAFs via text message. And so if you want to know how to do that, you can do a search on the web, or you can reach out to me and I can show you how to do that as well. So Tim, saw your comment there, looking forward to getting the weather over Spot X. There are ways to do that right now. And your comment earlier, Tim, about me being a gadget guy, you're not wrong. But reach out to me, Tim, and I can show you how to do that with getting METARs and TAFs. Okay, so the last item on the agenda tonight, we're getting close to that 20-minute mark, which is where I try to keep these. Thursday, the 19th, here in a couple of days, there's a VIP TFR, a lot of acronyms, sorry, a TFR coming up over Anchorage Thursday afternoon. It is very important that you check NOTAMs. There's a 10-mile no-fly zone centered on J-Bear and a 30 nautical mile ring of basically have to be on a squawk code and talking to ATC to operate inside that 30-mile ring. President Biden is on his way to Asia. He's stopping in Anchorage for a tech stop to refuel, step off the airplane, shake a few hands, answer a few questions by the press pool, and then get back on Air Force One and continue his journey to Asia. My assumption is that there will be another VIP TFR that pops up when he returns. So be looking for that as well. So the NOTAM right now talks about around 1:30 in the afternoon until 5:30 Thursday afternoon. That does not mean that is the length of the TFR, and that does not mean that's when the TFR will be in place. That means that that's when they anticipate Air Force One being in Anchorage. The TFR will only be active as Air Force One is inbound, on the ground, and then outbound. The anticipation is that TFR will be in effect for about an hour sometime in that window. So please, 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 I don't know how else to say this, please check NOTAMs. Please plan your flight accordingly. Please do not be that guy that takes off and flies inside the TFR without a clearance. Please do not be that person that flies into the 10-mile ring, because you will be intercepted and you will get a close-up picture of an F-22 off of your wing. And depending on what you do, they do have authorization to use lethal force. Okay? Not joking around, not playing around. This is serious stuff. Do not fly inside that TFR unless you've read it, unless you understand what's happening, and unless you have a discrete squawk code, and unless you're talking to ATC. And even then, you will not be allowed inside that 10 nautical mile ring around J-Bear during that time. Please plan accordingly. Okay? I don't know how else to say this. Don't make Alaska look bad. I get it. It's difficult. It's inconvenient. It is what it is, though, right? In Alaska, we're actually very fortunate. We do not have these types of TFRs very often. Unlike folks in New England, when President Biden goes home for the weekend. Delaware gets it all the time. Check your NOTAMs, people. Check your NOTAMs. Thursday afternoon, there's a VIP TFR over the Anchorage Bowl. Read it, understand it, talk to flight service, be in communication if you're flying anytime on Thursday, because it could pop up at any time during that window, because we don't know exactly when Air Force One is going to arrive and depart. So with that, that's everything I had on my list. I want to encourage you to keep up with us on social media. Send me an email. My contact information is on the Alaska Airmen's website, alaskaairmen.org. You can call the Airman's office, and I'm extension 8. It rings to my cell phone, and be glad to talk to you there as well. So coming to you live from, I guess, my command center here in Nenana at the hangar. It's been great to visit with you. Enjoyed seeing a lot of you at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering in Valdez, and look forward to seeing you and hearing you on the radio as we fly around this summer. So with that, I'll say good night, and we'll talk to you on the radio later. See ya.